So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the motor that is sitting right there on this scale. You see it's 198.82 grams, and I want to find out if that motor will lift that stick and those lead weights to simulate the weight of the model rocket that it'll be flying in 2 stages. So I've added up the weight of all the items, the parachute, the altimeter, both rocket body pieces, of course, and come up to 199.7 grams. And this is going to be very close, and I'm allowing some room for tape weight. So then I'll start taping this together and weighing it as I go. What I want to find out is if one of these motors that I have built has enough oomph to lift this, because I'd like to try to launch this rocket as a 2-stage. I thought that'd be kind of cool. This is the tail section from the one that the second launch that I had videoed and put on where it had crashed. See, I replaced the motor mount tube, because the first one went with the motor into the nose cone, and I hadn't glued it heavily, so I was able to get it separated and cleaned up. So that's going to be hopefully the booster stage for a 2-stage. So we'll see. I don't know, but I need to make sure the motor has enough oomph to lift all of this, because I'm putting quite a bit more weight underneath of it. I also don't know if center of gravity is going to be right, so I've taken some measurements, and I'll get on Open Rocket and try to make a determination of that. Anyway, I'm going to tape this all up, and then I'll go outside and try to launch this thing, see if it's got enough oomph to get it. Okay, so now I'm outside. I've got my remote initiator set up, and my launch tube, which also doubles as a T-post driver. That's how we do it out here in the country. Anyway, so I've got this all put together. There's the rocket motor. I've added up the weight of the motor, all the rocket parts, double the weight of the motor, of course, because the 2-stage is going to have it. And then I've put a bunch of lead tire weights, old used lead tire weights on the bottom, which feels really silly because this thing is ridiculously heavy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that up in here and see if this motor has enough oomph, like I said, to lift this. My son and I put that together. He helped pack the material in there. He's rather proficient with the shop press. I'll have to stop filming for a moment. I'll set it into place, and I'll hook up the igniter. I've also got to find a spacer, because as this is, when it sits inside this steel tube here, right there, the steel tube sits on the little plug on the bottom, and I'm afraid that's going to block the exhaust port enough that it may build up too much pressure, and before it starts to move, overcoming this amount of inertia is probably going to take a second. I'd like it to be able to breathe freely while it's attempting to do that. So I'm going to take a moment and do that, and then we're going to step back and launch this thing. Like I said, this feels really silly, because if that looks heavy, it really is heavy. I mean, it is, but that's the weight. I've double checked it. So, oh, you're gonna hold on to that? You set the rocket in there carefully?
Not that heavy.
Yeah, well, don't drop it, and watch where it sits. It's gonna sit on that pink plug. So I'm gonna have to get a spacer, something to put in there. Don't put the whole thing in there. Let it hang on the edge. It's fine. It won't hurt anything, because we're not gonna launch it just yet. Okay? Heck, that might actually clear. All right, we'll just go with it like that. Here, come grab the camera. Okay, keep it pointed at the thing. I'm gonna hook up the igniter. Kind of get that in the camera, if you would, please. So there's that. Okay. And yeah, but just back off. Yes, you may have to set back off a little bit. Okay, what you got?
My dad is putting on the igniters for that little box down there, which I'll control from a remote. That's way over here.
Yeah, it's definitely way over there.
Yeah, just in case this thing explodes, which we have right here. When this thing is ready to launch, we'll press A.
Okay, don't press the buttons. Let me have the camera. You have the remote. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Give us a countdown and press the button. Let's see what happens.
2, 1. Is it? It looks like it grabbed the snake.
Awesome. Okay, well, the delay worked, sort of. That pop you heard, if you heard it at all, was the ejection charge, simulated with a bit more black powder than I'd normally use for an ejection charge, so I wanted to be able to hear it. That was interesting. That thing spun, and I don't understand why it twirled around like that, because that
That's good.
should have been tail heavy.
Yeah, that's actually good because then we have a spinning rocket.
I guess that's strange. I'll have to think on that. So the center of gravity was so far back that even with the stick and everything, okay, I get it. That's what happens when your center of pressure is ahead of your center of gravity. That's what went wrong.
Hey, Dad.
Oopsie. Okay, well I'm gonna go collect that.
It
Hey,
looks like
hold
it
on. I'm still
crashed.
shooting this. Hey, I'm gonna go pick that thing up, and now I realize what I did wrong. But hey, the motor got it off the ground, so score.